The morning sun spilled golden light over the quiet streets of Maple Hill. The sidewalks were clean, the lawns edged like magazine covers, and wind chimes tinkled in the soft breeze like everything was right in the world. But peace in a place like this was fragile. A single word, a single glare could shatter it like glass. Emmy's laughter echoed down the block. She was just 12, her legs bound by a wheelchair, but her spirit was untamed. Her golden retriever, Max, sat faithfully beside her, his vest marked with the words, "Service Animal. Do not pet." He watched her with bright, intelligent eyes, ready to move at the slightest tilt of her hand. Across the street, a curtain twitched. Then a voice, sharp and sour, rang out. "Get that beast off the sidewalk." Max's ears twitched. Emmy's smile faltered. She turned, her small hand gripping the armrest of her chair as the figure of Karen Hargrove stormed across the manicured lawn, her heels stabbing the grass like spears. Her lips were tight, her eyes brimming with judgment. "That mutt isn't registered with the HOA," she barked, stopping inches from Emmy. "Animals like that, they make people uncomfortable. Some of us have allergies. And what if it bites a child?" Max let out a low, cautious whine and stood between Emmy and the woman. Emmy shrank back. Behind the screen door of the house, it creaked open. A man stepped out, tall, with broad shoulders and calm eyes that didn't blink under pressure. His name was Dr. Ray Walker, Emmy's father, a veterinarian by trade, a single father by tragedy. His gaze landed on Karen, and though his voice was soft, the authority in it was unmistakable. "That animal is a federally protected service dog," he said. "He's clean, vaccinated, and better trained than most people." Karen huffed, arms crossed. "Well, maybe it's time someone did something about that. Some dogs, no matter how fancy their vest, isn't safe. If he were mine, I'd have him put down." There was a silence. Ray's jaw tensed. He stepped forward, standing in front of Emmy. "You'd euthanize a trained medical animal for being near your yard?" Karen didn't flinch. "Maybe." Ray took a breath, measured, controlled, deadly calm. "I'm a veterinarian," he said, "and I don't let people like you anywhere near an animal's life." Karen blinked, but she didn't back down. Not yet. And that's when Ray knew this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Ray Walker moved to Maple Hill for quiet. After his wife passed, all he wanted was a peaceful life for his daughter Emmy. Safe sidewalks, clean air, and a good school. She was born with a rare neuromuscular disorder that made walking impossible. And since age 5, Max had been her guardian on 4 legs. Ray had trained Max himself, not just to respond to commands, but to sense when Emmy was overwhelmed, frightened, even slipping into respiratory distress. The neighbors waved politely at first. Some even brought cookies. But Maple Hill had a disease of its own, one that crept through pristine lawns and pastel mailboxes. Her name was Karen Hargrove. Karen was head of the Homeowners Association. Not elected, just inherited. She operated with a clipboard, a permanent frown, and an arsenal of printed citations. Trash bins left out past noon? Citation. Decorative flags not HOA approved? Citation. Ramps for disabled access without pre-approval? Major citation. The first letter arrived 2 days after Ray installed Emmy's ramp. Non-compliant with neighborhood aesthetic. He ignored it. The second came with a fine. He paid it. He didn't have the energy for fights. Emmy needed stability more than he needed pride. But Max was the turning point. Karen's obsession began subtly. She snapped photos from behind her blinds. She complained about Max's paw prints on the common sidewalk. She posted vague rants in the community Facebook group about unsanitary animals and unsupervised brats. The neighbors stayed quiet. Nobody wanted to be Karen's next target. Then came the poison. One evening, Max staggered across the kitchen, his legs twitching. He vomited violently, collapsed at Ray's feet. Emmy screamed. Ray scooped him up without a second thought, his hands already checking vitals, his mind racing ahead. He drove to his own clinic like a madman, ran tests, flushed his stomach. Max survived, but barely. Ray held the lab report in trembling hands. Traces of meat soaked in rat poison. Someone had fed it to him. He didn't call the police. Not yet. There was no proof, no witness, no camera footage. But in his gut, he knew. It was Karen. Emmy cried herself to sleep that night, curled beside Max's recovery bed. Ray sat awake, watching the dark creep across the ceiling, the rage boiling under his calm. The next week, Karen escalated. She marched up to the door with 2 members of the HOA board in tow, all holding paperwork. "This is a final warning," she snapped. "That dog is a hazard. I have complaints. He barked. He jumped. He scared someone." Ray read the papers. All fabricated. All anonymous. He tore them in half and dropped them at her feet. Karen's lips curled into a smile that didn't touch her eyes. "Refuse to comply," she said, "and we'll seek legal action. He'll be removed. Or put down." She turned on her heel and walked away, heels clicking like a metronome of doom. Ray started documenting everything. Every letter. Every word. He filed ADA protections with the city. He installed a camera over the porch, another near the side yard. But he couldn't follow Max everywhere. Then came the HOA meeting. Karen called it a community safety concern and demanded a vote to remove dangerous animals from the neighborhood. She didn't name Max, but she didn't have to. Everyone knew. The meeting was held at the Maple Hill clubhouse. Ray showed up in jeans and a black button-down. Emmy came too, bundled in a blanket, Max sitting alert by her chair. Karen's lips tightened the second she saw them. The room was packed. Ray stood and spoke calmly. "My daughter's life depends on this dog. He is federally recognized, fully certified, and the best damn soul I've ever known. You don't have to like us, but you don't get to erase us." Karen stood after him, clutching forged complaint letters like a stage actress gripping her final monologue. "He barked," she cried. "He snapped at a child." Her voice rose in pitch. "He's a liability, and this man, this dog doctor, is endangering all of us." The board muttered. Neighbors shifted uncomfortably. No one defended her, but no one defended Ray either. They feared her. The motion to remove Max failed. But barely. Karen didn't speak again that night. But her eyes, those cold, angry eyes, never left Max. 2 nights later, Ray came home late from a house call. Emmy was asleep. Max was in the clinic wing, recovering on a padded bed. Ray walked past the hallway camera monitor and froze. The screen flickered. Motion in the clinic. Ray moved fast. He didn't think. His vet tools were still on the tray by the door. He grabbed a scalpel just in case. His heart thudded loud in his chest. Then he saw it. The back door cracked open. Inside, standing under the sterile white lights, was Karen. She wore latex gloves. In her hand, an animal euthanasia syringe. A vial of barbiturates. Enough to kill Max instantly. Max lay on the table, groggy, sedated. She must have used his pain meds to weaken him. She didn't even look startled. Just smug. "I'm doing you a favor," she said, without flinching. "You'll thank me when your daughter stops depending on this mutt. Maybe she'll grow up." Ray didn't speak. He walked forward slowly, like a lion approaching a trespasser in his den. "You broke into my clinic," he said quietly. "You drugged my daughter's dog." Karen raised the syringe like it was a trophy. "I'm solving your problem." Ray stepped into the light. His eyes burned, but his voice was ice. "You just made the biggest mistake of your life." He reached into his pocket, pulled out his phone, pressed a button. The clinic's hidden camera feed popped onto the screen. Red lights blinked in every corner. "I caught everything," he said. Karen blinked. Her grip on the syringe faltered. Behind them, Max stirred. Emmy's voice crackled from the intercom. "Dad? What's happening? Is Max okay?" Ray's breath caught. He turned to the mic. "He's okay, honey. Go back to sleep." Then he turned back to Karen and stepped between her and the table. "You poisoned him once," he said. "You tried to finish the job tonight, but you didn't count on me watching, or recording, or being licensed to press felony charges. Karen's hands began to shake. "You're bluffing." Ray took the syringe from her, gloved up in one smooth motion, and sealed it in a bag. Breaking and entering, attempted animal cruelty, reckless endangerment, and don't forget, theft of controlled substances. He pulled out his second phone and dialed. "Officer Marquez?" he said. "We've got a situation. Bring a squad car." Karen didn't run. She didn't scream. She just stood there as if reality hadn't caught up to her yet. But it had. Ray met the officers at the door 10 minutes later, handed them the evidence, and gave his statement. They cuffed her without fanfare. She didn't resist. The neighborhood exploded. Within hours, the news spread. The HOA board scheduled an emergency vote. This time, neighbors weren't afraid. An elderly woman named Mrs. Gaines said Karen fined her $100 for letting her grandson draw chalk stars on the sidewalk. A young dad spoke of how Karen threatened to call CPS because his daughter had a lemonade stand. Stories poured in. And this time, they listened to Ray. He stood at the front of the clubhouse, Emmy by his side, Max at her feet. "I don't care if you like me," he said, "but I care if my daughter gets to live here without being hunted. That woman drugged a dog trained to save a child's life, and you gave her power." The room was silent. Then, applause. The HOA board voted. Karen was removed. Permanently. 2 weeks later, Karen stood trial. Ray testified. So did Emmy, her small voice clear as she spoke about waking up to Max's whimpers and seeing Karen on the screen. Veterinary records, camera footage, the stolen syringe, everything lined up. Karen's lawyer tried to claim mental distress. The jury didn't buy it. Verdict: guilty. Sentence: 2 years for attempted animal cruelty, 1 for breaking and entering, 1 year probation, and court-ordered psychiatric evaluation. Fines paid to Ray's clinic and Emmy's future medical costs. Ray didn't celebrate. He just drove Emmy home, Max riding in the back seat, his tail gently wagging. Justice didn't feel like victory. Felt like breathing again. Weeks passed. Spring settled over Maple Hill like a second chance. The house on the corner, once watched with wary eyes, now glowed with life. Emmy's laugh returned to the sidewalks. Max walked proudly beside her, his new vest a deep navy with gold embroidery. Certified Service Dog Hero stitched across the back. The neighbors began to change, too. They waved more, spoke longer. A young couple down the street brought Emmy cookies. A boy with freckles knocked one afternoon and asked if Max could show him some tricks. Ray watched from the porch, heart full, a warm mug in his hand, sunlight touching the rim. Peace he'd learned wasn't given. It was fought for. One afternoon, Emmy wheeled into the clinic holding a small wooden sign she'd painted herself. Bright colors, uneven letters. She handed it to Ray with a shy grin. He read it aloud, voice thick. "Every life matters, especially the ones with paws." He mounted it on the front door. That evening, the sun painted the sky in soft lavender streaks. Ray and Emmy sat on the porch, Max curled between them, his head on Emmy's lap. The breeze was warm, and the trees whispered softly above. "You know," Emmy said, petting Max's head, "he still wakes up every time I move, just in case." Ray looked at the dog, then at his daughter. He swallowed the lump in his throat. "He'll never stop protecting you," he said. "And neither will I." Emmy leaned her head on his shoulder. "I don't feel scared anymore," she whispered. Ray smiled and kissed her forehead. "That's all I ever wanted." The ramp that once earned fines was now painted with flowers. Neighborhood kids had come with brushes and chalk, turning it into a rainbow path. Emmy beamed every time she rolled over it. Karen's house was empty now. For sale. The blinds closed tight. Nobody talked about her anymore. Not because they forgot, because they'd moved on. And in the quiet of that golden evening, as the stars blinked one by one into the sky, Ray Walker closed his eyes beside his daughter, the soft rise and fall of Max's breath at their feet. Home at last.